Hey guys, it's me. Wow, I sounded like the snuggle bear there, didn't I? Doing a little rebranding on this. Basically, getting very close to having rebuilt my Marvel Legends collection. I should say Marvel collection, because I've got a mixture of lines in it. There's a couple of Mofex, some Marvel Select, and Marvel Legends, of course, yeah. But the 1/12 Marvel collection is closer to being rebuilt every day. So I'm almost to the point where I only have to look forward instead of back, which is a good feeling. Real good feeling. So, but of course, I said had to solve my collection in 2015 due to hardship, as it were. And I regretted it ever since. I sold a lot back then, but most I regretted was Marvel. This time around, I've got a few things. I've got Knull and Venom. Passed on this set a lot because, well, wasn't sure about Knull. Wasn't a huge fan of the series, but then I don't know. I came around on Knull. So there we go. That's all I can say. So yeah, definitely this doesn't replace anything. I got a couple of Venoms. You know, but it's also a nifty set, so I just decided to grab it because it's fun. You know, I mean, Knull does come with his big ass sword, as you can see, and you know, it's also fun to give that to somebody. He has a swappable head, which is more kind of neutral. It kind of looks like the Dracula figure that just came out. And of course, here's Venom. He's got this smile, some fists, and a set of big ass fucking wings that I know he sprouts at the end of the story. I was just kind of like, you know, whatever. The only thing I don't like about this Venom is these holes in the back for the wings. Yeah, because I don't plan on using the wings. I won't say never ever, but, you know, I don't plan to often. What I did not realize here is that this is a repaint of the movie Venom. Or maybe the other way around. I don't know which came first, because I wasn't paying attention. But with a different head, of course. But, you know, that's alright. Reuse is reuse. The feet are weird because of that, but, you know, anyway. To give you some more idea of how much bigger this figure is, here's Venom, which is a pretty decently sized figure who is also drunk. Gotta love when a plan does not want to come together. And as you see, he's much bigger than that Venom. So, I did not need a Venom. If I had realized it was the movie one repainted, I probably would have tried to get Knull on his own, because I've seen him go not too expensive on his own. So, but there's that. I did finally break down and get that. Knull, I mean, looks exactly like you think. And, dude, something I didn't realize is this dude is all new shit from what I can tell. I don't see how they're going to reuse that. I really don't. And look, he's taller than Venom. So, this is a bigger set than I thought it was. I really honestly thought this Venom was going to be around this size, and then Knull was probably going to be about that size. Well, it turns out I was wrong. Is it okay? Yeah, it's okay. I can't in good conscience recommend it, though. There's a lot of flaws with this Venom. I mean, now that I have him, I'm not going to get rid of him yet. He may go away soon. He may not. Definitely keeping Knull. That's what I bought this pack for. I luckily didn't spend anything over retail. Kind of wish I had gotten this on clearance. There was a lot more stuff out then. I kind of was focused in other areas. Was not desperate for a Venom. Kind of regret not buying it on clearance now though. Alright, let me get some more out here and we'll talk. And here is Professor X. Well, people are calling this the Savage Land outfit. I just call it a frickin' jumpsuit, man. Why wouldn't a professor wear a jumpsuit once in a while? Anyway, I am thinking of trying to find a wheelchair at a decent price for him and just put him in a regular wheelchair, or put the suited one in a wheelchair and put him in the hover chair. I haven't decided yet, but I got him on sale at Target. You know, he comes with a trigger hand because, you know, Professor X needs to shoot a gun. This hand, even though at this time in the cartoon he wasn't exactly you know, using his mind powers, and another trigger hand. Well, because, you know, all those guns Professor X uses, and of course his Cerebro helmet, which is, to me, at first I thought it was the same one as on the hover chair, but looking at it now I realize it's not. So as I said, I just wanted him for a wheelchair, Professor X. That's one of the figures I sold off that I regret, was the Toy Biz version. Even though it's very dated now, I am contemplating getting that one if I find a good price for it. If I don't, then I won't. That simple. But I'm always surprised that they've never done Professor X in a wheelchair. The closest thing is they did Patrick Stewart in a 2-pack with Wolverine for Logan. So they did a movie one, but not a comic one. I always thought that was really odd. Because, you know, to me, Professor X is one of those guys that's really important. This is that jumpsuit body, Tracksuit Mafia. Also, Hank Pym came on this, and I'm trying to remember who else. It seems like there was a couple other guys that have come with this mold, and I'm not placing them now. Oh well. But yeah, this was a good one for the price that it was. And see, that's the thing moving forward, is I got some that I'll get immediately. I got some, it's like, if you put it on clearance, I'll get it, but if it doesn't do it, there's not a sale, I'm not there. I mean, that's not a slight to anyone. That's just, you know, this is one I would buy on sale, of course. You know, I would buy, yeah, I'm not going to get into a long list of what's out there that I would buy if it goes on sale, because, you know, there's almost no point in getting a lot of these things at full price. We're a year into their redirect with, you know, well, we're going to sell lesser quantities. We're going to make lesser quantities so that they sell through, and then, you know, that'll show those pesky customers about deals. And at some point you got to just admit your fucking prices are too high. And this is, again, I always say this is, you know, max $15 figure. I love Marvel. That's the only reason I do it. You know, again, I've reevaluated my collecting, and it's like, yeah, some Marvel, some Action Force, and then the rest will probably be, I don't want to say vintage because it's not vintage, but older stuff. You know, stuff for the gaps in my collection that I have, and I can fill those in, and then we'll go from there. But really, modern collecting, yeah, they got some great improvements, but they're not worth the price anymore. I'm struggling to think of any that are, and they're not. I guess Max Deadpool, that's what it is. I'm on Max Deadpool right now. And I'm looking at it going, you gotta be fucking with me. You know, but I don't want to discuss it here, so let's move on. Okay, so this one, yeah, confession, fully transparency. I only bought this because of the fucking ollies for like $5. I had zero intention of ever buying this previous to that, and I keep calling it foam mid. If you're missing a deal, and Thor is it. If you're missing a deal, that's all it was, dude. And you know, I'm probably gonna end up selling this. To be honest, I didn't hate Thor the Dark World, but I didn't love it. And you know, after all that, it was like I got the figure at Ollie's, and I was like, you know, justified it as, you know, I didn't hate Thor the Dark World, but I didn't love it. And I sat around for days with it, and I just finally went, you know, I'm looking around at space, and it's like, why did I bring this thing in here for space? Is it a terrible figure? No, not at all, not at all. But it's, you know, MCU. I don't give a shit about MCU, you know. I mean, I liked it up to Endgame. Endgame has its issues, but I like Endgame. But past that, I really don't care. But, you know, it's even then, it was like, I did buy a bunch of figures that later on I was just kind of going, why is this in my collection? It seems like that's always what happens with these MCU characters. And I have no explanation besides, you know, you just want to catch them all. You want to Pokemon it. And you don't need to. But every kind of regret I have in my collection, comes from mostly MCU. You know, I don't dig the MCU, even as figures. They're just, you know, I've got a couple of figures I intentionally got because I know they're never going to make a comics version of this character, so there's that. But at the same time, it's like those they make comic versions of. I'm like, well, damn, okay, now what? There we are. I mean, there we are. So I don't always necessarily buy the comic version just to get a version, you know? That's not to say I won't, but, you know, I don't do it just for that anymore. You know, don't get me wrong, there's MCU figures I know I'm going to keep, but I'm going through them, and I'm finding, yeah, I don't really like these. And I do plan to sell them off, but you know, I'm going to sell them cheap. So there's that. Anyway, let's move on to the next one. So just to get these out of the way, I got Super Adaptoid on sale at Ollie's for $25, I want to say, and I got Joe Fixit for $20, I want to say. I might be getting my prices wrong. It's obviously some older footage, so let me get through it. Super Adaptoid. I know I gotta boil and pop the forearm off to get the shield on. I just don't feel like doing it. I really don't. It's just an annoyance to me. It really is. And I just haven't done it still. Because I just don't want to. I mean, I hate having to do shit like that. But, I mean, $70 for this was a bit much. Especially since the original was that original cap that this was based off of. I think clocked in around 40. And it had... Guys, it wasn't that long ago. I mean, I think it was before the pandemic. Like 2 or 3 years before. I mean, well, Bobby worked on it. I mean, you know. So, before 2018 at least. And, yeah. I mean, and those things went to heavy clearance. So, remember when heavy clearance was a bad thing? And now it's like a normal thing. Everything goes heavy clearance. So whoopee. So yeah, I dig it. I think it's cool. But it should have been a lower price. The price tag kept me away for a long time. And I think it kept others away too. I mean, I see a lot of people grabbing this up now that the price is lower. It's like, there was your problem, your prices. I mean, and you had what? Jesus, what's his name? The demon guy from Ragnarok. I mean, he's a 12-inch figure. All new. They're never going to reuse that. I mean, he was originally 50 bucks. So give me a break. That's 70. What was it? 60s. I think it was $69.99. It might have been $74.99. Either way, it was just not going to sell at that price. It was stupid. So yeah, I stayed away, but I got it now. Super Adaptoid. I don't love that character, but I don't hate it either. I don't mind having it, that's for sure. And then, of course, Joe Fix-It. I have to admit, I like this a lot better than the Build-A-Figure, even though it's basically the Build-A-Figure. I think it's pretty fun, and I like the pinstripe suit better, and I saw somebody making fun of his size. People obviously forget that Gray Hulk is smaller than Green Hulk, but okay. And I love the Tommy gun. That's fun. I like that. I think it's a great figure. Again, I think this one clocked in at 40 to 50. Again, I think the price was just too high. 20, I was like, yeah, sure, I'll buy that, and oh boy, I like it. So, you know, again, we have an example of an action figure that is really good, but is not going to sell at an inflated price. And I got a feeling we'll see more and more of that. I see stuff coming all down the way. It's like, yeah, that's pretty good. I ain't going to buy it for that much. Game Reverse 2-packs. Well, I probably won't buy any of the Game Reverse 2-packs because I consider all of them downgrades. Well, okay, we'll talk about particularly the Shimagaroth. Even though they're not calling it Shimagaroth. Good figure. Not worth, what is it now, 79, 75? I mean, it's just not worth that. It's worth about the highest I go is 50. I mean, it's an okay thing, but it's not fantastic. And you got to be fantastic for me to jump those paywalls. But again, I think that one might not come to clearance. Some people might just pay that and be done with it. But I feel fairly confident all, and I do mean every single one of those Game Reverse 2-packs will hit clearance. Psylocke might not, but I don't know. I think Psylocke demand has been sated, and you never know, we might see a drop. We might not either. I mean, then again, I keep thinking about Warbird, and she was impossible to get online, and people were selling her for 50 bucks, but I went to Target. I was driving my mother to the airport. She was taking a trip. I stopped by the Target there. There were 8 of her on the shelf. So I've not looked on the secondary market value since then. But I mean, that tells you something right there. I mean, I don't know. You tell me. Still, I mean, you know, the fear of missing a deal can be big. It can be tough, but I don't think anybody with either Super Adaptoid or Fix-It who wanted them missed that deal. I don't think so anyway. Those guys hung around those low prices for a long time. There's always new collectors, but I don't know how true that is. I don't think there is a lot of new collectors. Not that I'm saying there's no new collectors, but I also think they're kind of puffing that up a little bit. That might be me. Yeah. You know, I may do a video on that someday, because it looks to me like at least just on the surface. The sales are going down because they are lowering production, and this stuff is still ending up at Ollie's. That's not a good sign. My God, that Namor has hung around my Ollie's for weeks. So, there you are. So yeah, I do think that's a wrap on this one. Getting further and further into finishing up, rebuilding that Marvel collection. Take care, guys. We'll talk to you next time.